Hi, this is a quick video in response to some of the questions I've seen online about what the title of Season 2, Episode 12 of The Walking Dead means. The title of the episode is Better Angels. I have a couple of quick explanations about what that means and then how it relates to what happens in that episode. So the first meaning is the general or popular meaning of better angels. And all that means really is the better part of our character, of our nature. You might think, for instance, what's an example? You're walking down the street, you see someone passed out on the street, he has a bunch of $100 bills strewn all over him, and part of our nature might say, I'm going to take that money and run. But the better part of our nature, our better angels, might urge us to wake the guy up, give him his money, make sure he goes safely on his way. So it's the more noble side of our character. One way of thinking of this, and I remember this from old Flintstones episodes, but I think it's a pretty common image, is the idea of an angel on one shoulder and a devil on another shoulder, right? Little miniature angel, miniature devil. The devil is trying to get you to do the wrong thing. Take the money and run. Do it. Kick him too. The angel is saying, no, 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 no. Do the right thing. Do the good and noble thing. Help him up. See that he's safe. So that's the better angel, the better, more noble part of your character, of human nature. The second meaning of better angels is actually a lot more specific. And it's a quotation, basically, of the last lines of Abraham Lincoln's first inaugural address. I'm going to read quickly what it says, but I'll just set it up by saying, if you know your American history, which I barely do, Lincoln's inaugural address is given during the real threat of secession, of the North seceding from the Union, and of course what will become the Civil War after that. So Lincoln is giving his inaugural address in that context. And I'll just read the last few sentences. Here we go. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, yet will swell the chorus of the Union, when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. So what does this mean? Well, quickly, he's making a plea for these people to stick together, for the country to stay together. He recognizes that they're really on the brink here, but I'll just pick out a couple things that exemplifies this idea. So he says at the very beginning, we are not enemies but friends. We must not be enemies. He's just not talking to the South. I think I said earlier that the North wanted to secede from the South. It's the other way around, of course. He isn't just talking to the South. He's talking about the South's relationship to the entire country. And he makes a couple references. There's some musical imagery here. He talks about the mystic chords of memory and how the chorus of the Union will swell, will get louder. Well, that's an interesting choice of language. He talks about mystic chords of memory. He doesn't say mystic single notes, so not just one note. He says chords, so multiple notes together. So that's an image of union and togetherness. Later, when he talks about how the chorus of the Union, the entire country, will swell, again, he talks about chorus, not a single singer, and he means here chorus, he doesn't mean the part of a song, he means like a choir. So he says the chorus will swell, not a single singer, but a bunch of singers together, the country together. And then he says, we will certainly come together again when we're touched by the better angels of our nature. So we'll heal again. We'll be a more perfect union again. So how does this relate to the episode, to season 2, episode 12? Well, in terms of the general popular meaning, clearly this would relate to people in the episode who act nobly. But if you look at the episode, there aren't a whole lot of people who act nobly. Certainly Shane doesn't. You can't say that Rick acts nobly. He just acts, except at acts and reacts. Except at the beginning of the episode. Remember when he's talking about Dale, how we're not going to kill Randall. It isn't what Dale would have wanted. We're going to honor Dale's memory by keeping Randall alive. That's Rick's better angel urging him to do what some would think is the right thing. Now, Trev Shan 2, who does great reviews of The Walking Dead, says, this is an example of Rick being a bad leader, too emotional, and that's an arguable interpretation. But if you look at how the title of this episode relates to the content, you might say that what Trev Shan 2 calls emotion is really Rick trying to play to his better angels. It might still be misguided, but I think that's what he's aiming for, a more human, more noble course of action. How does this relate to the Lincoln quotation? Well, I think that's pretty clear, right? We have friends, Shane and Rick, who become enemies, clearly, and so there's a kind of rupture, right? It's not exactly analogous to the North and the South, the threat of secession, but there's clearly a split. There's a division in this group, and it threatens to tear the group apart. With Shane dead, the group can now come together, possibly, and rally around Rick again as the strong leader, because the dissenting voice is gone. And of course, Andre dissents, and T-Dog has his hangdog looks all the time, and Daryl sometimes doesn't agree with every course of action. But this is potentially a moment at which the group stops being individuals and instead becomes a chorus, that they're going to act together. And I would suggest that the episode, and the preview for the next episode, when we see a whole bunch of walkers about to attack the farm, that is a sign that they have to act together. They have no choice. Remember, by the way, one of the things that happens at the beginning of this episode, which suggests this coming together as well. They're all moving into the house, right? Herschel had been very resistant to this earlier. He wanted to keep distance between his family and friends and the group, but now they're all together in the same house. Even though it's uncomfortable and cramped, they're all together. So I would say that's what this episode is about. Or not this episode, but that's what this title alludes to. A doing away of divisions and dissension, and a coming together of the group, and even an integration of the main group with the folks on Herschel's farm. That's all I've got. Hope this made some sense. I'll post another episode or another video soon. I want to talk a little bit about the significance of Herschel's farm, but I'll get to that in a later video. Let me know if this makes sense. Bye.